Whenever you're ready. Good? Okay. So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming in. My 10-year-old, it's kind of rejoicing that I'm actually talking about video games in a conference. But, yeah, mostly to talk here today on behalf of my colleagues from Northumbria University. So I'm Pablo Martinez, assistant professor there. And I'm going to talk about gamification of safety training in construction, mostly looking at not just the development of the game, but the perspective and the opinion of what professionals think about that kind of approach. So I think if you look at literature, we know that gaming in general is a very nice, at least from the theory perspective, it's a nice and more novel approach to training and learning. It provides a different way of acquiring skills and I think a fresh air compared to more traditional methods that we apply today. And it all falls within, the case of what happened in the past years, where technology has been little by little just getting into our classrooms and into the learning environment very much. And with COVID, that basically hit us like a train. But the use of digital platforms as a solution is just, a way for us in construction to recreate risky environments that otherwise would not be possible to deliver to the students, for example. And that is, for example, in my case in Northumbria, and that's why this project actually exists, is we have a really large cohort of students, especially at master's level, where we handle classes of 200 students. So taking them to a construction site is definitely a no-go from a risk perspective, but also from a logistics perspective. And there is no sane company that would allow us to actually get 200 students on site. So for us to provide, a more realistic experience, this is pretty much, or applying technology is our only option, really. At least from an economic viability example. So looking at gamification or serious gaming, it just adds an additional layer of engagement, especially looking at young professionals that are the ones that look at especially training when they join new construction companies, but also students at any level, honestly. They miss sometimes that level of engagement that they look for in some training processes that we have right now. And well, to actually just, give some context, this project in general is driven by our desire to change the way that we assess construction management, not just in safety training, but in general around digital construction skills. We're in the process of eliminating most of our exams, pretty much, and we try to, what this project actually is within a research impact where we're trying to reduce our assessments to basically test students in a video game level as across basically the semester. So we wanted to know basically if our driven agenda of education basically could be applied to construction professionals also. So in the context pretty much of compliance safety training, which we thought that was probably the most boring and terrible opinion, the worst probably opinionated case for practitioners. What is the opinion that they have around gamification of this specific training and how gamification compared to the current approaches that they have in their companies. So I'll talk a little bit about the game. We developed it basically using, the current the drive that exists in the construction industry of digitalizing absolutely every single environment that we have. So BIM models pretty much. And try to use that to provide an individualized environment. So if we have a compliance training to actually have some site access to that specific site, we're going to use the BIM model of that specific site. So driving that and basically generating an approach in which we contain two different phases within our training process or the educational learning process, where we have a tutorial level always for each individual learning outcome, and then an assessment level straight away. And you don't really unlock the assessment level until you've done the tutorial. Tutorials can take between 10 minutes to 20 minutes, depending, and the assessment level is, well, in theory, you can take as long as you want, but time that it takes for you to actually complete the assessment level is part of the score, and I will go over that later. But scoring and feedback is given the moment the user finishes the assessment level and is related straight away to the learning outcomes. The tutorial level obviously is more related to providing the learning material and the different examples that should be given in the context of what is happening in, well, basically the game. And it is all driven around a main menu. That is what you can see in the left figure, where obviously now it's all unlocked, but it is based in this case study in a very small site where it was a modular construction building site that was near Newcastle. So this is just a few examples of what it shows. So you can see for the modular construction building, you can see some cranes just lifting panels and modules coming in for the trucks. And that is basically what we had as a case study for the practitioners. We had 3 levels. One of them was a truck driving into the site, and it had to be performed in a safe manner, so delivering a module and then leaving the site. The second part would be around crane operations. The first one would be a safety tour around the crane. So that is something that operators have to do to check that nothing is on the collision path for what they actually have to do that day, and then the operation of the crane itself. The methodology of what we wanted to do, basically we wanted to basically get the participants background check, not as much on, it looks like police, but more about what they're coming from, what is the experience, what do they do usually as compliance training, basically, so they tell us a little bit what is their current, basically, exposure to compliance training and how does it reflects back to what they see. And then they have about 45 minutes of free time on their game. We provide them a little bit of, well, basically what I told you, this is what the game looks like. There's a tutorial phase that you need to go through in order to unlock the rest. But we didn't tell them, you have to do everything. They could explore the game as they liked. And then we had a post-test questionnaire, basically aiming to gather the insights. And the questionnaire was mostly quantitative, but we had some qualitative figure that I'll explain later. We ran this experiment only 3 days. We thought that we would have to have it for a lot longer, but we had actually a lot of people interested in testing it, so that was good. We said, okay, we're going to open it every Thursday at 9 and close it at 10. So that people could come into the university, play the game, and then leave. We thought that we had to run it for weeks, but after 3 days, we said, we have enough, and that was really good. So we had 28 professionals for this preliminary study. Mostly, everybody reported that had some kind of construction experience. Mostly, they were young people, which was not surprising to us, but in the end, we also had some very senior managers, especially on the safety side and safety engineers, and one site supervisor that was like 60-something. So that was also, kind of what we wanted to aim. Mostly, there were engineers, as I said, but we had some contractors level and also some people from facility management, so maintenance crew operators that came. Some on the supplier side, so we had 3 truck drivers coming in, and most importantly, most of them never had seen gaming as an idea in the construction sector. They were very surprised about the project, but some of them actually had, which was very surprising, and they were all 3 of them from the same company, and we had a small chat about it with them, but apparently they had some kind of similar approach to what we had like about a few years ago from a startup company, but never went anywhere. Most importantly, people reported that more traditional ways of safety training, so mostly presentation slides, videos, online learning was the preferred choice for the companies as a way to go. Definitely a mix between both, so I think we can all relate to the kind of compliance training that we all go through at university, so yeah, same way they do safety training. So in terms of the results, we run a 5-point Likert kind of, you know, the usual. And we definitely asked people around, you know, did you feel that you learned? Did you feel that it was better than, or it was, how does it compare to traditional methods? And the general answer is yes. So the blue is actually good, the red is actually not that good. And even for the people that, you know, reflected bad on it, and I will comment on their comments later on, the overall experience was really positive around the capacity of being immersed within, you know, the safety environment. They liked a lot the fact that you could actually recreate sites and the, you know, the, I would say the graphics around the site, although they were not exactly what they would feel, but even having the noise of the trucks around the site and being more self-aware about, you know, where they're actually doing the training was a very good point. They mentioned a lot of things around collaborative aspects of the training, which is something that we wanted to emphasize a lot in this project. We believe that learning is a very social aspect, and when people do compliance training, that is completely lost. It's just you in front of a screen most of the time, and if you're lucky, it's you and your colleagues in front of a classroom, but that is for the very privileged ones. In general, compliance training is something that is done quite regularly, and it takes more than a few minutes, but we believe that it should be something that people should collaborate on instead, especially looking at construction sites. The only question where there was a little bit more negative feedback was related to the intellectually stimulating part, and that was some feedback that we took on, that basically they said, well, you're telling us exactly, so you're not using the new technology to tell us something different. We replicated pretty much the same concepts and the same ideas that any kind of compliance training would do, and that's absolutely true. Basically, we replicated exactly what other people were doing. In terms of you know, the learning outcome, pretty much it was also very positive. People felt a little bit more awareness around safety more than in traditional methods, which was really good positive feedback. And it didn't really matter what kind of, you know, there was no significant difference between the different tasks and scenarios that we provided. So it didn't matter if it was about truck driving or crane lifting or any other safety area. Well, both of them were actually very enhanced. So overall, it was positive, which is good. As I said, we also had some comments. So these are comments from that we cherry-picked a little bit from all the comments. But in general, the two of them on the top was very important. Is they didn't feel that there was a story to the game, which is something that most people felt that there should be. That it should be a story where you start from, you know, level 1, but there's no Mario and Princess. You're just being driven straight away into a construction site with nothing else, and that was mostly our part, which our storytelling was poor. But the most important part is that, you know, they want to feel the same way that they feel when they go for certification of any kind of safety training. So that is something that we missed the point. And most importantly, they want to incorporate multiplayer, which is something that complicates things a little bit from a technical perspective, but makes a lot of sense from a technological and social technological point of view, in this case for learning. And the rest of the comments were more about our own shortcomings in video game development, which we are not, so yeah. Conclusions, you know, gamification significantly can enhance professional engagement, motivation, and safety awareness, offering a definitely new approach to training, especially for the most boring ones like compliance training. And it also addresses some of the complexities and hazards inherent in construction environments, where you can provide training in more individualized basically approaches, where basically if you want to give site access to a specific individual, just get him on that site. The positive reception of the game, mostly due to immersive and interactive features, encourages a shift in how we train safety towards more dynamic methodologies in learning. The research also provides evidence about its potential to revolutionize traditional compliance training, especially around its training practices. And obviously it underscores the efficacy of serious gaming, improving learning outcomes. And I will take any questions you may have about this. Thank you.